looks like Foxy.
I think Charles came to play tonight. Dominique does not disappoint.
What a play by T-Man.
Kenny Smith hitting the three.
Big time plays here by Steve Smith.
And welcome to Atlanta and another edition of Open Court. I'm Ernie Johnson. We are talking slam dunk today, and we have absolute basketball royalty in the house. Wait till you get a look at this lineup. Let's start with Steve Smith, the Michigan State Spartan. Always a pleasure to see you, Smitty.
Thank you, Ernie.
And Smitty's got championship ring. You know, he's got all kind of credentials. Played for a lot of teams. Played 14 years in the NBA.
Thank you, Ernie.
Tracy McGrady, seven-time All-Star, scoring champion a couple of times. Wonderful to have you with us.
Thank you.
High school graduate, that's it.
16 years at Turner for Kenny the Jet Smith.
And I almost came on with gum in my mouth.
Yeah. You've done that before.
That's a long story.
A couple of championships, of course, in the career of Kenny the Jet Smith with the Houston Rockets. What can I say about the guy sitting to my right? My goodness.
You already talked about me.
To my immediate right.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Dr. J, wonderful to see you.
All good. Nice to see you.
Thank you so much for
Good
being
to be here.
First slam dunk champion of all time, Hall of Famer, only guy to be the MVP in both the ABA and the NBA, and wonderful to. I really look forward to hearing your stories about the dunk and about your career. Going to be awesome. Charles here.
14 years, Ernie, just in case you forgot.
No, believe me, I know about each and every one of them. And so that's two Hall of Famers on the panel. And now a third Hall of Famer, Dominique Wilkins. How you been, Deke?
Good.
The human highlight film, also the human fender bender. Thank you for getting here, despite the fact that you took a shot on the way to
Now,
the
that was a
airport.
hoax.
No, that was a hoax. No,
Never happened.
And next to him is the human freeze frame, Steve Kerr. No, the all-time leader in the NBA in three-point percentage.
Why do you guys always invite me to these dunk shows? Seriously, I've been invited to like 5 panels on dunk.
They said you used to have good views.
Yeah, that's about it. I'm looking at this panel. I'm like, what? Why am I here? But thank you for the invitation.
It's called diversity. Diversity. It's called diversity.
Dr. J, let's talk about the dunk. And what's amazing to me is when you're at UMass at a time when dunking is outlawed in college basketball.
That is correct.
It's like you going to a restaurant and they're saying you can't eat.
That's different. That's different.
How frustrating was that for you?
The thing about it, Ernie, is, I started dunking basically in grammar school. But, what you were saying about going to UMass and the dunk being taken out of the game because of Lou Alcindor at UCLA, they tried to, just negate his dominance. And he was still dominant because he developed the sky hook, and they still won, 3 NCAA championships in a row. But it hurt a lot of the other guys who really loved the dunk, and eventually they took it out of the warm-up line. And that was dramatic. But, for me, we lived with it. It helped me form some finger rolls and some other things around the basket. And then when I got out of college after my junior year, I had saved up a lot of energy for dunking in games, and some people had to pay the penalty.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think, though, if piggyback on our game today, do you think if some of our big guys didn't dunk as much, they would have developed a Kareem-type shot or developed their game more? Because I do think one thing about the big guys today, I don't think they're fundamentally sound on other aspects of their game, like sky hooks, jump hooks, and things like that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. One of the criticisms about today's game is that there aren't enough big men who are quality players who are diverse in their approach to the game. So, you got a lot of big man camps and big man schools. And, some guys, they can either dunk or they try to go outside and shoot three-pointers. And so your point is well taken. I think there would be further development of the player if something was taken away from them. But if you took the dunk out of the game, you know, right now, I mean, I think the game would suffer.
T-Mac, when was the first time you saw Dr. Dunk?
Jeez. Classic films. The one on the Lakers when he cuffed it. I mean, that's like the greatest of all time. You know, favorite dunk.
Stolen, I think, by the doctor. Yes, he's got it. Here he comes. Way rock the baby to sleep and slam dunk.
Was it?
The Cooper dunk.
Yes, the Cooper dunk.
So it was in-game dunks more than dunk competition in 1976 that.
Yes, in-game dunks.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Actually, you know, with Tracy here, in an All-Star game, Tracy threw the ball on the backboard and went and caught it and dunked it. And he probably sort of fished at, say, Pittsburgh, because I did that move. I did that move and fished at, say, Pittsburgh back in 1978. And then there was a lot of excitement when Tracy did it in an All-Star game. And I was just sitting there thinking, I was like, where did I see young fella? I have to tell him about that.
Just so you know, Doctor, I was much more inspired by Set Shot Buford than I was by you.
There you go.
I just wanted to point that out.
Actually, Tracy, how old were you in 1978?
Oh, 79 here, buddy.
He wasn't even born.
So you didn't steal it.
He has a real good alibi. He got a
No plagiarism here.
alibi.
No plagiarism.
But you know what, Ernie? When I grew up in New York City, and Doctor was playing with the Nets. And so Larry Keenan, Super John Williamson, those were the guys I always watched early on. And Doc had the big fro. And we used to always have jokes that Doc could go, he was able to dunk on people so much because he had the big fro. And he put the ball behind his head, and then he'd move his hands, and then he'd pull it back out of his head, and he'd dunk it out. So it was just like, but his illusion, and I think, and his dunk was great, but I think the way all of us have probably admired more the way he carried himself off the court, because he had a demeanor. It was the first time we saw what a superstar sports figure in basketball was. I think we've seen it like in music, we've seen it in other characters, but nobody had seen what a superstar basketball player was until we saw Dr. J.
Take me back.
Go ahead. Too, just to piggyback on what Doc said, the dunk came back in my first year of high school. I think it was 77, you know.
He wasn't born either.
He wasn't born. He wasn't here yet. But it did. I think the game suffered because you had so many great athletes, and you get a breakaway, you go down the court, and you had to drop it in or lay it up. I used to go to North Carolina State and watch David Thompson practice, and he would just jump over the rim and just kind of punch the ball in. He was an incredible leaper. You've played with David Thompson, unbelievable leaper. But it really hurt the game by not letting those athletes really display their game above the rim.
What are your memories of '76 and that first dunk contest? I mean, did you know what to expect? What was about what this was going to set the stage for years to come?
Well, no way could I have imagined it'd still be showing the classic sports tape today in black and white, and that it would get the reaction that it did. But I knew what I was going to do. I mean, you know, I'm a kind of a lines and columns guy, so I always know what I'm going to do, what I'm going to at least attempt to do.
You knew that night you were going to bring the house down with that foul line, with the foul line dunk in '76.
Yeah. Well, David had just done it like a 360. And we were in Denver, so that was his home crowd. So I didn't know whether it would have the effect that it did, but I was hoping that it did.
And that sends everyone reeling.
Doc, when was the first time you went from the free throw line? I know the first time you dunked was in grammar school.
Right.
Middle school?
No, it wasn't really till the Rucker League. And in the Rucker League, after my junior year of college, I played 5 years straight in the Rucker League in New York, up at 55th and 155th and 8th Avenue. And I think the crowd kind of egged that on because, you know, we're running up and down, we're just playing freelance basketball, and, you know, I started taking off farther and farther out, and then the announcer started saying, you got to measure that one, you got to measure that. And eventually, you know, they started guesstimating how far out I was jumping from, and I realized that I could jump from the foul line and get to the basket and complete the play.
How did what Dr. Was able to do impact you, Nick?
Well, actually, growing up, and I told Doc this my first year in the league, I grew up wanting to be like Doc. I mean, I used to watch all his games, and so I patterned a lot of things I did as far as attacking the basket after Doc, because I used dunking for a tool for intimidation. And I tell people all the time, it really wasn't who I was, but when you're a great athlete, a great leaper, they always equate you with being a dunker. And I tell people all the time, it's hard to get 26,000 points on dunks, you know? I can move more than just dunk. Right. But for me, it was to keep the big guys, you know, from wanting to block your shot. And so the way Doc attacked on the break, I watched that over and over and over again. And I felt like if I got on the break and I got the ball, and if you were under the basket, you were in trouble, because you wasn't going to block the shot. Matter of fact, you might be on a poster if you didn't get out the ball.
You know, one of the things that Dominique never gets enough credit for, and Doc probably, I think, was the best ever at it. I think, I can't remember everybody who I would put on the list. Everybody here can dunk. Steve Kerr probably can dunk.
No.
Well, have you ever dunked?
No, not in a game.
But the thing is,
8-foot basket.
but
tennis ball, an 8-foot basket.
Yeah.
8-foot
Got a lot of
basket.
good
Tennis
stuff.
ball and an 8-foot basket.
The one thing, Ernie, that people never understand, being able to dunk on another person, these two guys are two of the best, and I'm not just saying that because they're sitting here. Like, I don't remember myself dunking on people that often. I think a couple times. But these guys, they made, you know, some of Doc's legendary footage is he's dunking on people. You know, people talk about the Michael Cooper dunk. You know, he had a dunk on Bob Gross of Portland. He had one on Bill Walton. You're like, wow. But I tell people, it's very difficult to have in-game dunks.
It's not so much that it's difficult to have in-game dunks. It's the way that he was doing it. The freestyling. He was doing dunk contests in-game.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
On people.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
That's what okay.
Yeah, I mean, anybody can go out there and dunk, but I'm talking about, like, to do... Yeah, like to do a fancy dunk on another person. That's what you don't see that often.
Right.
I'll tell you a prime example. Bob Lanier is a dunk they show now that I went baseline. I went to the middle and the whole team shift. And I went back to the baseline, I jumped, and I think I closed my eyes because Bob Lanier covered the rim. And I was going up, and I turned. And he was coming down, I was still going up, and I dunked on the buzzer.
13 on the shot clock. Down low for Dominique. Baseline drive. Dominique. Oh, my goodness! Did you see that jam?
And he stood there and he watched me. For 9 years, he never spoke to me after that. And I asked him, I said, you know, we retired, you know, the game is over. I said, you can speak to me now. I said, why you don't speak? He said, you know, it was tough for me to ever speak to you again. When I had to go home and hear my kids let me know how you embarrassed me on national TV, I didn't ever want to talk to you.
Hey, you know what's so funny about that? Elvin Hayes stopped speaking to me, man, for about 12 years from one dunk.
Get out of here.
One dunk in the
Well, they take it personal.
One dunk in the Capitol Center. And, you know, it was down the lane, and Wes came over, so I was kind of a little worried about Wes because Wes could hurt you. And he jumped up, and he always jumped with two hands. So he jumped with two hands, and I moved the ball over to the middle, and kaboom, right? So it's in the Capitol Center. Boom. And every time I saw him, man, he would never say anything to me. And then when we went to 50 Greatest Players in 1996, and we sat and we had dinner. I hadn't spoken to him since that dunk, and this was at least 10 years later.
What were the first, and did he bring it up?
No, he didn't really bring it up.
Did you bring it up?
I was just glad that we were kind of, it was me, him, Wilt, and I think maybe Bill Russell, and we were all sitting around, and it was just like melding, and I realized that this guy had not spoken to me, and, you know, I knew why he was upset. But he didn't have to be upset that long. You know, you don't have to take it personal.
Well, there are like 600 players that Charles won't talk to. When we come back, talking more about in-game dunks as opposed to dunk contest dunks. And also, we'll revisit what happened in 2000, one of the great dunk contests of all time. Tracy McGrady was sensational that night, but his cousin was just a little better. He was third. And of course, Dominique Wilkins, a couple of times winning that. And if you listen to it should have been 4.
Actually, I won 4. I just got credit for 2.
There you go. Well, he'll expound on that as we continue on Open Court right after this.
Here's Vince Carter with his first stop. Let's go home, ladies and gentlemen.
Hard hand shaking
So you saw that Vince Carter from 2000 in Oakland in the slam dunk contest, and you see some in-game dunks. More satisfying in a game for you?
Oh, no question. You know, I mean, from 8-foot basket days until, you know, the last NBA game in Milwaukee, you know, I had this thing, and I talk about it in my book, Ernie.
Oh, that's
Right
Dr.
there,
J, the
right
autobiography.
Right there. We got a little shameless plug going.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we have 14 cameras
November
here. I don't know if any of them are going to be able to focus on that.
But I do talk about imposing your will on other players from the park days to the college days, high school days, college days, and pro days. And Dominique will relate to this. You know, when you have like 11 out of 12 guys on the team who could dunk the ball like we do with my high school team, we would intimidate teams pre-game.
Right.
You know, after the warm-up lines, you warm up, you got 11 guys dunking the ball, you steal their crowd,
they're done.
And then you put a full court press on in the first quarter, and it's like over. Right. Like over. The game's going to be like 60-20. So imposing your will is one of the things that we talk about and that I firmly believe in.
Was it what you did to the other player, the fact that you were able to pull off the dunk, or what it did to the crowd
well, you got to look at your matchup first, you know, and this happened several times where we played against very good players, but they get a little disheartened if they get dunked on, if you put a good move on them. You know, you start stealing their crowd, you shake their confidence. And suddenly they're not the same player that they were the previous game when you weren't on the court.
Yeah. Go back to 2000. That was my favorite dunk contest. I thought Vince was unbelievable.
Yeah.
And what was great, it wasn't an all tricked up, gimmicky kind of a contest. It was just good dunkers doing their thing, and nobody really took 14 tries to get anything done. I mean, it was rapid fire, and the crowd was so into it. Tracy, any other year, you might win that thing. Steve Francis was very good that year, and you got kind of dinged up in that contest. You finished third, but what you and Vince and Stevie were able to do that night was astounding.
No, looking back, it was one of the better dunk contests, not being a part of, but just witnessing. I can remember, I think it was probably my third year with Toronto, and Vince, I knew he was going to get in the dunk contest. I didn't want to get in because I already know what was going to happen. I knew I wasn't coming in first place because I've seen all his dunks in practice or in games. So we were arguing back and forth. You know, he was trying to get me to get in the dunk contest. I want no part of it. So it was a last-minute decision for me to get in. Got in, and, you know, I already knew what was going to happen. His first dunk, I felt sorry for Jerry Stackhouse because he had to go after.
All right, here is Vince Carter with his first stop.
Let's go home. Let's go home, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go home. Let's go home.
Everybody was still just going crazy over his dunk while Jerry is out there about to attempt his first dunk.
Well, Jerry Stackhouse following a very tough act.
You can't come after Babe Ruth. You don't go singing after Michael Jackson. There's certain things you just don't do.
You wasn't out there trying to do all these gimmick dunks. I mean, it was just go out there and be creative. And, you know, we attempted, you know, our first dunk and made it.
So when Vince hung with the elbow,
I've seen it.
You'd seen that how many times?
Well, we're both from Florida. He was a little older than me. He played in AAU ball. He played on the senior team, and I was on the junior team. In the layup line, he used to go up the ball, almost touch the top of the backboard, look down, and just drop it in like that. I was like, this kid's unbelievable.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was my cousin at the time. I had no idea.
That was a lot of folks were claiming it was a cousin. That's my cousin.
That was the, you know, calling that and being part of, like.
Yeah, what was it that you said, Kenny? I can't recall.
It's over! It's over, ladies and gentlemen! It's over!
I know.
Because, I mean, I was, you know, watching him at the University of North Carolina and seeing him in the summer times because I used to go back. I didn't know he could jump that, I guess, not just high, but with that much intensity. And so all of the energy that I was a fan. For real. I mean, it was that electric what Steve Francis and Tracy McGrady did.
2000 Olympics, Kenny, speaking of Vince, you know, watching this game, I think it was me and Tim Hardaway and Allen Houston when he dunked over Frederick Weiss. I seen him dunk on different players, dunk on Dikembe a lot because I let him go by me, you know, I wasn't playing too much D. But to see him dunk over a 7-footer, I mean, that was the most...
to clear him. Clear him, jump over top of him. You know, because you see in the dunk contest, guys say, okay, jump over me.
Right.
This is in the game.
But Kenny, you know the reaction. You usually go crazy, right? We didn't move for about 4 seconds because I said, Tim, did we just jump over? That's the craziest dunk I've seen ever.
French media called it the dunk of death when Vince did that to Frederick Weiss. Dominique, 1985 and 1990, you win it. You watch Spud win it in Dallas in '86, and then you and Michael in the Battle of the Titans in Chicago, and he gets the nod. Which of those four do you remember the most? The two wins or the one you lost to Michael?
I lost.
Really?
You know, the funny thing is that all the dunk contests that we were the part of, we never practiced any of those dunks before a dunk contest.
Come on now.
Never, not once. Everything was spontaneous. We did dunks, you know, as the contest went on. We thought of different things to do. I never worked on dunks before a dunk contest. But that dunk contest was one to remember because the way we approached that contest, we were going at it, you know. Both of us wanted to win, but more importantly, we wanted to get the fans really involved. In Chicago, it was pretty easy to do. But
what do you think about today when guys don't get in the dunk contest?
This is my opinion.
And why did
it's only my opinion.
And why did you and Michael make an effort to do it?
I think the guys today don't really want to know who the best is. To be honest with you. Because the dunk contest for me was just something to give the fans for the weekend. It didn't really say who you are as a person. It's something you give the fans. Even though I lost the one to Michael, it was no big deal for me. It was a dunk contest, something we gave the fans for a weekend. It's not something that's going to stick in my mind for the rest of my life. I'm going to be bitter about it. That wasn't it wasn't for that. But I think these guys now just don't want to go head up with the best players.
I'll pose that question to T-Mac since you just got finished playing this era. Why is it? Guys don't want to get in the dunk contest. Your opinion?
Who are great dunkers in our league? I mean, it's not that.
No, we mean great players. Why they don't want to do it?
They're not great dunkers.
LeBron's a great dunker.
Yeah. Who else?
But wouldn't you love to see LeBron in the dunk contest?
Not really.
Really?
No, seriously. I don't think he's creative, but I don't think he's on a creative level as Vince. Or I'm not going to see something I haven't seen before from LeBron.
One of the things that might be happening, too, is that, you know, guys playing today are corporations. And they have corporate plans in terms of how they're going to be marketed, the brand, the whole thing. So losing in the slam dunk contest, and everybody's going to lose except for the winner, those guys don't want that to be a part of that. Or their agents or handlers or managers don't want that to be a part of what
LeBron has the biggest brand. Everybody else, I mean, why not get in it? You're not as big as LeBron. You know, it's only going to build your brand.
But that's who you see getting in it, the guys who maybe need that boost in their brand.
We can't be just putting guys out there. It's not good TV, number one. But we need our stars to be more like
accountable.
Doc did not have to get in the contest multiple years. You know, Dominique didn't have to do it multiple years. Michael Jordan didn't have to do it multiple years.
I think there's one other issue, though. I think the bar has been raised so high, and so many things have been done already to the point where guys are jumping over cars and there's props and everything else. I think a guy like LeBron's probably watching it like, what do you want from me now? Like, you guys have these incredible battles, these individual battles, but now it's become almost a circus. And I don't think some guys probably don't want to take part in the circus.
My thing is, too, if you're going to jump over a car, you got to jump over the top of the car. You can't jump over
Yeah. I think I can do that today.
You can't jump over the Some of us can do that today, jump over the hood.
You see the company we keep?
I'm just saying.
Hold on. Now, I want to... Wait, no. Which one of us could jump over the hood today?
Probably T-Mac.
Oh, yeah. Because you said, because I definitely, that'd be funny. I might kill myself trying to jump over the hood of a car.
I don't think you can sit on the hood right now.
But you look at the contest that Dr. J and Ice and David Thompson, those guys wasn't in that dunk contest, it wouldn't have been historical. Right. You know, you had great names, the greatest players in the league at that time. All those guys got in the dunk contest.
Before we go to break, Tracy had said that he saw Vince do a lot of this stuff in practice. You ever see Michael do something in practice that still made your jaw drop?
Not really. Everything was in a game with him. I mean, he would dunk in practice, but I would think these guys would probably agree when you get to a game, you got the adrenaline kicks in.
See, but you know what, though? When we were at the University of North Carolina, after practice, we used to have dunk contests. So it was a guy named Curtis Hunter, myself, Michael, that would always, like at the end of practice, stay around and we'd have dunk contests. And then another guy, Warren Martin, who couldn't dunk really. He used to try, 7-footer, but he used to try to get a dunk contest. But
nice shot.
You would, yeah,
I'm sure he appreciates that.
But all
way to shoot him down. Kid.
So he used to. We used to call it the Dr. J. So he'd rock. We'd cuff the ball and do the Dr. J. And so he'd just turn and put it here. But when we played against Maryland, and he gets a steal off, and I'm ahead. He doesn't throw it ahead. I'm a little upset. He actually had to run because he didn't pass me the ball because I was ahead of him. But what he did afterwards, and when he rocked it, I had never seen him do that. I knew that he could cuff it and dunk. But then he said he didn't plan on doing it. He said he took off too far. And then he had to keep pushing himself to get to air, and he dunked it down. But he had jumped too far, and so that was the first time he really had done that dunk that way.
For great leapers, that's called putting the air brake on. You're pumping it like that, you got the air brake on. Got to keep you up there for a little bit longer.
We're gonna put the on-air brake on right now. Take a quick break here on Open Court and be back with more talking some of the smaller guys who can get up when we come back. You can get more Open Court simply by logging on to NBA.com. T-Mac, how do little guys do that?
I'm still wondering. You know, my favorite was little guy was Robert Pack.
Oh, yeah. Pack used to get you.
That was my favorite.
He'd sneak in there on you, boy.
Yeah. But how about, I mean, you've seen Nate Robinson do this lately.
Yeah. It's unbelievable. I really don't know, man. Little guy go in there and be so creative at that size. You know, in the slam dunk contest, what Nate Robinson was doing was, I mean, it was incredible.
I think the smaller guys, you know, when I was in that trying to dunk it on people era, you have an advantage because they always think you're going to pass. Because they don't really want you to drop off to their man and let the big guy dunk on you. So you get that late jump all the time. And, you know, the late jump, as you get older, it turns into a floater. And you're earlier, if you late jump and you can dunk it, you can catch big guys all the time.
You've judged these contests before. I mean, when the smaller guy is on there, does something about that impress you more or not? Or do they?
It really doesn't impress me more, but it does affect the crowd. Like when Spud won, it was the.
No insult, man.
I'm telling you. What's a judge?
No.
I used to call him
I'm really less impressed when a 6'10" guy's out there dunking the ball.
Or a 7-footer.
Right.
He's supposed to be able to dunk the ball. Yeah. So little guys who can dunk, I mean, I like seeing it. And if they're creative and they do 360s and stuff like that, it's really good. But they got to nail it.
Yeah.
So whether they're 5'6", 6'6", or 7'6", if they nail it and they spike it, you know, that's when I'm impressed.
Right.
But you did hear Kendick always refers to you as the Russian judge.
Why about a Russian judge?
You know, remember
I was giving 10,
No,
he's
Michael's
giving 7.
the Russian judge. Michael's the toughest on him.
No.
He come up with 6s, and we look over there. Come on, Mike. Guy should have at least a 7 or an 8.
I've sat over there and go, oh, that was a 10. That was great. You go, yeah, that is good. 6.
So how much?
I ain't no hater. No, it's like it is good.
Doc, how much?
I can appreciate a great dunk.
Peeking was there when you looked at something, you heard the crowd, and then when you're looking down the table?
Well, once they're all up, we all looked. We could see them all. No, it wasn't peeking to decide what you were going to do. I mean, you had your mind made up.
Right.
But then when you see you got a 7 and another guy's giving them like a 4 or whatever, you start thinking twice about it.
Or they go 10s and you go 7 or 8.
Yeah. we probably aren't the best judges. I don't mind giving a 10 to a 10.
Right.
And everybody in the building knows when it's a 10.
But
now the problem is that 6 to 9.
Yeah.
But somebody who a great as dunk as you are, does it take a lot for you to give a 10?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It's hard. You, like Steve was talking about, the bar is raised. You know, you have a certain standard. So they got to measure up to that standard, not that it's necessarily your standard, but it's a group's standard.
And see, the problem is when guys miss 2 or 3 dunks, and he nailed that third dunk, and you still get a 9,
I'm not even happy about that.
He can't get an 8 or 9 after 3 missed dunks.
And Spud Webb comes through in the clutch to put the pressure on Dominique.
How much did you know about what Spud Webb was bringing to the court in Dallas that night?
I knew he could jump.
You were teammates.
I knew he could jump, but I had no idea he was in the gym working on stuff before.
So he was doing that in private?
Yeah, by himself. He didn't tell me.
Had you ever seen him dunk? He had the element of surprise.
I've never seen him do some of the stuff he did in that dunk contest. When I knew he could dunk was his first year, and they were thinking about cutting Spud. So they put him in the game because guards got in foul trouble. We were playing against the Lakers, and I pitch it to him coming down the court, and he jumps, and Kareem goes up to block it. Kareem thought he was going to lay it up. So when he went to lay it up, he pulled it back, and he threw it on Kareem. Everybody in the building was just quiet for about 4 seconds. Then it erupted. I said, Mike, you can't cut him. Can't cut him. And that's when I knew he could jump, but I'd never seen him do some of the stuff he did in that dunk contest. That was incredible. He did a, man, unbelievable job.
Were you guys on the Hawks at the same time?
Yes, we were.
Yeah.
Did you ever tell Mike, you can't cut him?
No, he told him to cut.
I can't say
Mike, you said Mike, you got to cut him.
I can't say anything bad about Kenny. I can't say anything bad about Kenny. He passed me the ball when I needed it. So,
I was
all
uncuttable
good.
then, man. I wasn't that. He didn't catch me in the 8th and 9th year in the league. He caught me.
He was one of those point guards who liked to pass, so he was okay.
Yeah, no question.
Charles and I, my last 3 years were his first 3 years in the league.
Right.
And Charles is the guy who really ushered in the modern era of basketball. He was the guy who came in and teams really had to adjust what they were doing to accommodate his talent. And he came into a championship team.
We thought we were getting a rebound, a guy who could rebound the ball. Moses needs some rebounding help. So we get a rebounder, and then you get the first practice from the first day of training camp. He might not remember this, but he took over practice. He's a rookie. He's coming in. Of course, he wanted Ivoroni's job. He's like, I want to play behind Ivoroni. And it didn't take long to settle that, but, you know, he was such a special player. And those last 3 years for me, I mean, he made my job a whole lot easier. You know, I was allowed to get a couple of extra years because of his talent.
I'll tell you a funny story about him, if I may. He was in college his first year, and we're in Auburn to ready to play against Charles. And I didn't know who he was. So I see this guy come out, warm up, and so the game get ready to start. I'm like, this fat guy can't play. And I told him the story. I was like, man, this guy, man, he gonna be all right. So anyway, first play comes down. He goes down, he jumps, and I blocks his shot. And I was like, I told you he can't play. Big mistake, right? Came down the next play, and he went up, and he went up, and I went up, he dunked on our whole front line, like 3 times in a row. And I said, this kid is the real deal. And that's when I kind of developed a respect for Charles, because I knew then that he was going to be a special player. I've never seen a guy at his size move the way he moved. It was incredible. I'm talking from putting the ball on the floor, from and we talk about people can jump elevated, you know, above the rim. And Charles was one of the best. especially at that size. And he was about 6'3", about 265.
I was, actually, you know what?
He grew 2 inches since college.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny about that? I actually was about 295 in college.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was 295 in college, and
you had a weight clause in the contract.
Oh yeah, they didn't trust
had
me.
to break it down.
Can you imagine the Sixers didn't trust my weight?
Don't judge a book by its cover, but when you see this cover, Dr. J, you know it's a good read. How about that? I slid another one in there for you.
You know, honey, you got to give.
I want the movie rights.
You got to give TNT and NBA TV a lot of credit. The documentary was one of the best. It was amazing.
Without question. All right, back with more here on Open Court. We're going to wrap things up talking about the greatest dunker of all time.
Ooh. Sitting with him. Huh?
Yeah.
Carter, Vince Carter.
Jordan, crossover. Irving ascends over everybody. That's the lob. The jam!
And we welcome you back to Open Court, wrapping up our show here, focusing on the art of the dunk. So, Doc, I'll ask you, who's the greatest dunker of all time? And you can qualify this any way you want. You could do in dunk contest, in-game dunks. I mean, and don't be bashful. If it's you, we can certainly understand.
No. Well, I think Wilt Chamberlain. I mean, you know, the 30,000 points that he scored. Different than Dominique, who shot a whole lot of jump shots. A lot of them were dunk shots. And, you know, people really don't give Wilt enough credit, and the big guys like Shaq and Kareem enough credit or enough conversation. You know, it's almost like the NBA started in 1990 instead of 1946. But Wilt, you know, he posted numbers. When he retired, he was the greatest scorer of all time. And he imposed his will night in and night out in that little skinny lane. You know, I mean, he could dunk from outside the lane because they had the skinny lane. And I would put Wilt as the #1 dunker.
Who's the most stylish dunker of all time, Doc?
It's between Neek and Vince.
Oh, really?
And not Neek because he's here. Yeah. And you can't leave Michael out of the conversation. But with all due respect to Michael and Dominique, some of Vince's dunks were just incredible.
Vince.
Steve, start with you.
It's such a hard question because there's so many different kinds of dunkers. Dominique was a 2-footed dunker. Doc was more 1-footed. My favorite dunk of all time was Doc on Michael Cooper. I was watching the game live. I was a Laker fan, and I remember just sitting in my living room, my jaw just dropped. Like, I couldn't believe what I had just seen. But these two guys are right there with Michael. I guess I'm taking the easy way out here. I don't know how you decide between all these guys. Michael's dunk against the Knicks along the baseline was also an immediate thought, you know, when you think greatest dunks ever.
Neek?
I would venture to say Doc, because every kid growing up in my era wanted to be Dr. J. He kind of set the stage for what guys do today, like myself, because there's a lot of dunks that he did that players today still can't do. And the way he did it, you know, I never seen nobody go around the backboard on the other side, come back and finish and dunk it in traffic. I mean, look at the dunk against Bill Walton. You know, Bill Walton was one of the great shot blockers. I mean, he had no chance of blocking Doc's shot. So I would say he's the best of all time.
Well, I think if you're going to go by dunk contests and actual in-game dunks, I'd have to put Doc at the top of the list because obviously we got the classic slam dunk from back in the day. But when you look at highlights, you're like, he just dunked on somebody like that? And Dominique has some great ones. Vince has some great ones. Michael's has some great ones. But the overall slam dunk, in-game dunks, I don't think anybody had a more complete picture than Doc.
Kenny?
Well, being a dunk connoisseur, I would break it down like this.
Spell that, tough guy.
Yeah, I'll spell it.
Spell connoisseur right now.
I'll spell it like this. Dominique was the best tip dunker that I ever seen. Like, so if you missed a shot, the heads had to watch out because
he come flying in.
Yeah, there's certain guys that would dunk on you, but certain guys can go get it off misses and still have that ferocity, and he had that. You want me to spell that too? Just
you ain't spell it first. Come on, spell it tough guy.
Every word that got 3 syllables I gotta spell.
Boy.
But anyway,
spell it tough guy.
So anyway, he had the most ferocity. I would say the most appropriate dunker in game was Michael. I thought that in the game and key moves and key moments, I thought he had those that are signature. You know, his dunks were, you know, down 3 with 30 seconds to go to get you back in the game. They weren't just freelance. I think Dr. J is the king of it. He made it stylish, and he made people want to do that. So if you had to go in that tier, and Vince Carter kind of is looking outward to me on that tier of guys because he had the luxury of looking at those 3.
Took the easy way out, man. I like how you put it. Obviously, I'm too young to have witnessed Doc. I have to go with Neek, MJ, and Vince. I mean, those 3.
And I took the easy way? I thought you were going to say Robert Pack again.
You didn't let me finish.
Okay, I thought you were going to say
That's the way the show works. Go ahead, you can finish now.
Obviously, MJ, Neek, and Vince, the best slam dunk contest dunkers, best in-game dunkers. But I have to go with Vince as the best because obviously I witnessed him every night and saw what he did. Just some of the creativity that he had on opposing players on their heads. So I go with my cousin.
He was born in 79.
That's fair. That's fair.
He was a bad boy, and he brought a lot of, you know, creativity and power on.
No, the difference was, I know Vince was great.
Yes.
But you know how when guys dunk and go, they scream, and they dunk? The difference with Neek, the opposing guy was screaming. That was, I'm dead serious, man. The other guy's like, That was the difference between Dominique and
1A, 1B, 1C.
Did you scream that? Did you scream that night you got out of the way of Dominique? Remember the night that you went up with Neek, and then were you screaming when you backed off?
Let me tell you something. That's just tell you the genius of Charles Barkley. When you're making a bad decision, then right in the middle of it, you make a proper decision and just get out the way. You have to get out the way. My brain was working in the heat of the moment, Ernie. That's not easy to do.
Ernie, I tell you what made it more satisfying, and I heard when we were dunking on people, is that big guys love to block shots.
Yes.
They wasn't taking charges. They were challenging your shot. So it was more satisfying to catch a Robert Parrish or a Moses Malone or one of those big guys who like to go up and challenge. It was no better feeling.
Smitty.
You know,
the definitive answer is coming right here.
The Mount Rushmore of dunkers are right here. You talk about Neek and Dr. J, and obviously Michael. And Vince, the new age coming up, but I think who had the most impression on me was Dr. J growing up. And then 1B is Dominique. Dominique's the reason why I wore number 21 in college, because of Neek. And so these two sitting right here, not because they're sitting here, because of my era. I was born a little bit after you, 79. You was born in 79, I'm 69. Dr. J made the dunk for everybody. Well, that's why we're talking about, because of Dr. J. So, you know, that's the Mount Rushmore. Doc is in this stratosphere by himself. You know?
Should we have mentioned David Thompson in this?
Oh, without question.
Yeah, what we sure should.
But I, you know, Neek
Definitely.
is that guy that I tried to emulate growing up. So Doc is his, you know, Doc is in his own class.
Y'all both black.
I'm a little caramel, you know, Neek a little darker.
Okay.
The godfather of the dunk right here.
Hey, thank you, Ernie.
Doctor,
You
thank
know,
you. It's great head.
Yes.
I think we're done.
Just about, yeah.
Can I add one thing?
You may.
You know, I mean, I think that with the conversation about dunks and elevation of status, you know, when you're in the playoffs every year, and the playoffs are a different stage. So if you have guys who never get to the playoffs, you know, they might never get their props if they've gone to the playoffs once or twice during their career. I was fortunate enough, ABA and NBA, to go to the playoffs every year and go to 6 different championship series, 4 in the NBA and 2 in the ABA. So I got a chance to showcase my talent, you know, on a world stage, not necessarily with the ABA, it was sort of like a semi-world stage, but still a world stage. And if you pull off plays and you make highlights during that time, it makes an indelible impression on people that lasts through the decades. So I had a little advantage in that department. And then we got to get Tracy brought up to speed. We got to get him in the back looking at some footage.
And I say to you, Doc, and I say to you, Neek, on behalf of NBA fans all over the world, thanks for the memories as we talk slam dunk, and thanks for your time today. We'll see you next time on Open Court.